Coming up on this episode of One-on-One Sports,
we play Panic or No Panic with struggling NFL teams.
Look at which MLB managers might be on the hot seat.
And look at the highly anticipated Space Jam 2.
All that and so much more.
And it all starts
right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of One-on-One Sports. I'm Matt Holzaffel.
And I'm Andrew. Breaking news, Tiger Woods is back, and that is exactly where we're going to begin with the quick hitters. The golfing world can now rejoice after Tiger Woods donned the red polo and captured the 2018 PGA Tour Championship. This win was his first since 2013. Matt, over the last few months, Tiger's looked better, and now he wins the PGA Championship. Does he have a shot of getting 1 to 8 more major wins?
Absolutely. I don't know about 8, but you look at where he is. He's 42, right? He's currently 4 major wins behind Jack Nicklaus's record. And Jack Nicklaus retired long after he was 42, so Tiger Woods has a lot of time to catch up to him. And I don't think I think he's playing the best golf since he returned from obviously his problems.
Yeah, I was going to say he still has time to make a splash. He's had close calls this year, especially with the PGA Championship in August, and he's 13th on the tour right now as well. And he's had a slew of top 10 finishes. But my concern with this is that with him is that then sometimes he just falls apart. I mean, we've seen him finish 25th, 24th. Outside of the top 10 and outside of the top 20, and while he's ranked in the top 20 in the entire world right now, that's my only reservation about it, you know?
I just liked how we saw him creep up and up. He went over 1,800 days without a major when he got closer and closer and closer till he won this by 2 strokes over Billy Horschel. And you saw the crowd following him at the Tour Championship. It was epic. It was amazing. I think Tiger's back, and that's great for the sport of golf, I think.
Absolutely.
Sticking with epic returns, the UFC recently announced that Jon Jones has been reinstated following a suspension for drug violations by the USADA. Jones currently owns a 23-1 record and is one of the biggest names in the UFC. Andrew, his return is not official till October 25th, but let's look ahead. Who would you like to see him face first?
The man he faced last in 2017, Daniel Cormier. Now he's both a light heavyweight and heavyweight champion, and I know Cormier called out Brock Lesnar, but so did Jon Jones. And now you have Brock Lesnar coming into the mix in 2019 after he passes the USADA test pool. But I think this should be his first clean fight back against the man he beat in July of 2017.
My problem with that is that, and DC, Daniel Cormier has said this, he doesn't deserve a championship fight right out of the gate. He should face Alexander Gustafsson first.
Why?
They've been beefing. They fought back in 2013. It was one of the best fights in UFC history. Gustafsson.
But that was also 5 years ago.
Twitter. He called him out on Twitter. Jones. And you can't come back from a suspension like that and have a championship fight right off the bat. It just doesn't work like that.
You know who could be another great option, though?
Who?
Brock Lesnar.
Of course.
You
If
could
he
see
makes
him
the
move up to
return,
the heavyweights
yeah.
there. And who's to say that Jon Jones can't get a heavyweight title or a title shot right away if Lesnar's going to come back after a couple of years? Last time we saw him was in 2016. So why shouldn't Jon Jones, you know? But, you know, it could come into a situation where we see Jon Jones move up into the heavyweight division or stay in the light heavyweight. Either way, I think it should be Daniel Cormier because the decision was reversed after he got suspended. I think it's the best option for a big money fight right out of the way.
It's hard for me to see him facing for a championship in his first match back. We have his matchup with Gustafsson has all the makings of a big match. They've called him up, sells out on Twitter. Neither one of them has an opponent. They're both unbooked. They're ready to face each other right now, I think.
Exactly. A lot of options for Jon Jones once he returns.
That's for sure. Exciting to see him back, too.
In the fighting world, Floyd Money Mayweather and Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao look to be headed for a rematch. As of right now, the 2 target dates are December 1st or December 8th in Las Vegas. Matt, after the last fight, is there even an interest in this matchup?
Absolutely, because here's why. Floyd Mayweather is 50-0. He was 47-0 when he fought Pacquiao the first time. That's one. 2, Manny Pacquiao is still one of the greatest boxers of all time. He's an 8-division world champion. And in the first fight and with the entire 12 rounds, there was a decision that gave Mayweather the victory. After the match, people complained that Mayweather ducked and dodged too much.
And that's exactly why I don't want to see it, because the last one was a snooze fest. I don't know why Mayweather wants this fight for anything other than the money. Manny Pacquiao's 39 years old. He's obviously on the, end of his career, if that. Mayweather's already retired after that fight with McGregor last year, but I just don't see what the draw in it is for the boxing fans
I'll say this, I would like to see Mayweather fight McGregor again as opposed to fighting Pacquiao, but you just think these are 2 experts in the sport. You know they're going to bring the the spirit. They're going to bring up a lot of viewers into this match, and I think there's no reason why they shouldn't fight. It may be Pacquiao or Mayweather's final fight, and I think
if it puts
they're
butts in
perfect
seats
opponents.
and it's all about
Exactly.
money, that's all the factor is going to be.
And you know they're going to be a high-level fight because there's two pros who've been at it a long time.
I mean, the bar.
They know each other. It's going to be a good fight.
I was going to say, the bar can be set a lot higher than their last fight. So
That's
hopefully
true.
a lot less sleeping, a lot
only
more
way
fighting.
they can go is up, yeah.
Exactly.
On Sunday, the Browns announced that rookie quarterback Baker Mayfield will be their starter for their Week 4 matchup against the Oakland Raiders. And the Browns, well, are they pushing Baker into too much, and is it too soon to give up on Tyrod Taylor?
I don't think it's too soon to give up on Tyrod. He's fine, but he's consistent, and we don't know if Baker is as a starter.
Consistent?
But one game is a small sample size for Baker. Tyrod, you have at least 3 seasons to go off of. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves against the Jets. 73.9% completion percentage, 201 yards. But I don't hate this, but I think Cleveland is overreacting to how well Baker did.
The most important thing about this is not Baker's stats. It's not the lack of touchdowns, although he did catch the one. It's that he won.
I know,
and
that's where I think the
he won 2 things. He won the
overreaction
game, and he won the hearts of Cleveland fans because they were 18 straight games without a win. Look at Taylor's stats. He was 41 for 84, less than 50%. Only 860 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He'd fumbled more times than he'd scored.
You didn't even give Tyrod a chance
rushing the
until
ball.
after the preseason to bench the guy, let alone 2 games.
Well, I just
Granted, he
think
got
this is
hurt.
very much a Ryan Fitzpatrick situation. You play somebody until someone else does better. And I think Tyrod would still be playing if he didn't get hurt. Baker came in, he won. It's all about wins in Cleveland.
Oakland's also a much easier target for Baker, so he could see him padding his stats there.
Their upcoming schedule is not that hard. It's Oakland, Baltimore, San Diego, or LA, and then the Buccaneers. I think it's a good chance to give Baker some run. And you know what? Worst case scenario, you have that reliable veteran to fall back on if he doesn't work out.
Yeah, if anything, Baker will figure it out, hopefully, and we'll see if he can keep the Bud Light fridges rolling in Cleveland.
Cleveland, they're in the right spot. I think Baker's a quarterback of their future for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, that is all the time we have for the quick hitters.
But don't worry, when we come back, I'll be joined at the desk for some panic or no panic surrounding the NFL. Stay tuned. We are through 3 weeks of football, and we have seen some teams and players shine. However, not everyone has put up the numbers we all expected for the first 3 weeks. I'm joined at the desk by NFL experts Evan Piercy and Brad Clear to decide whether it's time to panic about some of the NFL's hottest and coldest teams. So, Evan, we'll start with you. The Patriots are 1-2. Yep. Panic or no panic?
Huge panic. I mean, look at this. Their only win is against the Texans, and it was by 7 points, and the Texans are terrible. Brady is now human, or he appears human. He actually appears worse than human. I mean, there's so many issues with the team. It's going to be hard to solve. I mean, saw the rumors about Belichick, Brady fighting.
Hard to solve.
No running game.
Hard to solve.
Yeah, hard to solve. It's going to be hard to solve what they have. They have no running game. Their defense looks like Swiss cheese. All right?
Hard to solve. So, would you not consider their leading receiver outside of Gronk for the last 4 years coming back after a suspension and one of the league's best downfield threats, of which they do not have anyone at that current play style, in Josh Gordon coming back? And you are adding more of Sonny Michel, more reps, more carries.
They're not giving him any reps.
He got what are you talking about? He got 14 carries.
He has 30 carries on the year.
In 2 games.
That's yeah, but you got to get the running game going in order to.
15 and 15. That's 30. The point is, more reps for Sonny Michel, he's going to improve. A major downfield threat.
Well, it's always that time of year where the Brady rumors of him being bad and his age catching up to him are running rampant. Brad, do you think this is the case, though?
For Brady?
Yeah.
No, I just think what weapons does he have besides Gronk right now in the passing game? The second leading catcher and receiver on this team, outside of Gronk, is James White, a running back. Julian Edelman, the small little slot receiver, is the prime receiver that Tom Brady likes to throw short passes to. Josh Gordon is going to be able to replicate, to a lesser extent, what Randy Moss did for them in 2007, made a massive, massive impact as a downfield threat.
But he had the weapons in the Super Bowl. He had Edelman, he had Cook, he had Gronk, and they lost because of their defense. You need to fix the Patriots' defense because that is their biggest downfall. They are terrible. They are 31st in rushing yards per game, giving up almost 5 yards per carry. You give teams 5 yards a carry on first down, that's so much easier to move the ball down the field, not to get in third down situations, not get in third and long situations.
We'll move to another team with another issue. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 1-1. Panic or don't panic, Brad?
Oh, I'm absolutely panicking here. This team is in turmoil. I'm not even going to get into the Le'Veon Bell stuff because James Conner is a sufficient, adequate replacement.
Yeah.
But Ben Roethlisberger has had poor, albeit putting up very good stats, poor decision making thus far. Their defense. You want to talk about a Swiss cheese defense? This is a Swiss cheese defense. They are giving up. They give up 42 points to Kansas City. Last night they
Kansas City has been putting up numbers on everybody, though.
42 points.
Yeah, I understand, like, 42 is a lot for the NFL, and they also had 38 points, so you can't really talk about...
How many did they give up to the Browns?
What, 21?
27 points there. How many points did they give up to Tampa Bay?
20, I want to say 26.
26, 27. The point is, you're giving up almost...
But they're scoring 30-plus points a game.
Is that sustainable?
I mean, the way the offensive weapons they have with Connor, you got Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Big Ben in quarterback. He can extend plays. He's hard to bring down. You've seen him roll outside the pocket, look for and find receivers downfield. Mm-hmm. They have the offensive weapons to continue playing and scoring and putting up points on the team. The biggest question for them is their defense. I'm saying don't panic solely because their conference or the division is terrible. The only team they really have to worry about offensively is the Cincinnati Bengals. But, you know, they're inconsistent.
And the team that would have beat them if they had a healthy kicker in the Cleveland Browns.
And the Cleveland Browns aren't a bad team. Like they're like 5 points away from being 3-0. They should be 3-0.
Well, that's all the time we have for this NFL block. When we come back, Matt will be joined at the desk to talk about the MLB Managers on the hot seat.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 132.
That's how many batters struck out 4 times in one game last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's how many kids witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
That's not a good stat.
No, it's not, but it can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. Visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
And we are back to this episode of One-on-One Sports. As baseball inches closer to the postseason, we're going to spend some time looking at the teams who will be sitting on the couch in October. I'm joined by David to discuss which managers will be on the hot seat. So, David, let's see our manager going to be in the hot seat as the season draws to a close.
I'd say the most obvious one is Buck Showalter with the Baltimore Orioles. Started out 0-21 this season. Yes, you heard that right. The Red Sox, yes, they've had a ridiculously good season, but the Orioles are 60.5 games behind them. And they may not even make it to 50 wins this year. which for a team with the baseball pedigree of the Orioles is really, really bad.
Absolutely, and that division is so tight always. It always seems like 3 of the 4 teams are in playoff contention. We know Boston, best record in the league, right? Yankees got the wild card. The Rays just missed out. The Orioles, they were embarrassing though, weren't they?
They were terrible, and Buck Showalter's been there since 2010. He had Manny Machado, who obviously they let the Dodgers have him because why keep him on such a terrible team? But this team's in full rebuild mode, and Buck Showalter's not going to be part of it.
All right, who else you got?
I've got Bruce Bochy with the Giants, and I know what you're thinking. He won 3 World Series there. Yes, but most of that team is either hurt, retired, or on a different team. The pitching staff is not nearly what it used to be. Pablo Sandoval's gone. Buster Posey seems to always be hurt. There's no consistency with the Giants, and they've had 2 losing seasons in a row, don't really contend in the NL West anymore. And San Francisco, in this point, is a what have you done for me lately attitude. And for Bruce Bochy, he hasn't done very much.
Absolutely. When you look at it, they're only 12 games below 500, which doesn't seem that bad, but you touched on it exactly. There's a lot of internal problems. They just fired the GM, Bobby Evans, too, so you really think that Bochy's going to be next. And how many people are going to fire in this offseason?
Well, that's the interesting thing about the Giants is Bud Black with the Padres, you could say be the same deal, but it's not as important in San Diego.
Right.
That doesn't have the pedigree as it is in San Francisco, where you're supposed to win World Series and supposed to be consistent.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
hasn't been consistent.
Giants are used to winning, not winning this year, though. Who else you got?
I've got Ron Gardenhire with the Tigers. He's in his first season as the manager in Detroit, but he's 30 games below 500. He doesn't have much of a team to build around. Miguel Cabrera, obviously the Tigers' star player, he's hurt, and at his age, he may choose not to come back at all. And Gardenhire managed for over a decade in the AL Central with the Twins. You would think he would know enough about that division to be able to make a turnaround quick enough and not be 30 games under 500.
Exactly, and the Tigers haven't made the playoffs since 2014. That's not obviously not all Ron Gardenhire's fault, but something's got to change there. You think there are going to be personnel changes in Detroit too?
I think there kind of has to be, and like I mentioned with Miguel Cabrera, if he chooses not to come back, you have to have a new centerpiece somewhere, whether that's Alex Avila or somewhere else or a young pitcher, but you lose that cornerstone and somebody who, in Ron Gardenhire, is about to turn 61. Do you want to start a full rebuild with him driving the ship? I'm not sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Probably maybe even look younger. One thing we know for sure, the NL wild card race is heating up, and so are these hot seats under these managers. David, thank you for joining us. That is all the time we have for this hot seat edition of One-on-One Sports. When we come back, we'll take a look at possible trade destinations for Jimmy Butler. Stick around.
Last week, Jimmy Butler came out and asked to be traded from the Timberwolves to either the Nets, Knicks, or Clippers. I'm now joined at the desk by Evan Avenstein, who's going to give us what a possible Jimmy Butler trade might look like. So, Evan, let's dissect the situation a little bit. What do you think the Timberwolves brass are going to do here?
Well, honestly, I don't know. Well, they're going to trade him. For sure, they're going to trade him. Jimmy Butler wants out. Glenn Taylor, the Timberwolves owner, he knows that. And even though Tom Thibodeau is the GM, coach, and president, or he's not the GM, he's just the coach and president, he wants to keep him, and he's standing firm on that. Whether he's just bluffing or not by telling teams, we're not trading Jimmy Butler so they can get a better trade package, I don't really know. But Thibodeau is just trying to save his job here. Glenn Taylor's doing the right job.
And either way, Butler wants out. So,
yeah, so you got.
What are your situations? What are your scenarios right now that you have?
Obviously, as they said, the Nets, Clippers, and Knicks are his desire. New York Knicks, do not trade for Jimmy Butler, please. Just my little PSA for that.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I think that the Heat and Rockets are very realistic scenarios outside of the box because the Rockets can trade them the best player back in most deals, in Eric Gordon. And I heard that they're kind of interested in Eric Gordon. He would be a good piece to help him make the playoffs still.
He's in the shooting guard position.
He's a career 16 points per game scorer. He averaged 18 on a high-scoring Rockets team last year. I think he'd be a great fit. I can see Eric Gordon and Costa Koufos in a 3-team deal with the Sacramento Kings going to the T-Wolves with Jimmy Butler to the Rockets, and then Gorgie Dang and Nene to the Kings. And then there'd be some pick swaps and stuff going on. The Kings would get a pick. The T-Wolves would get a pick. Protections on all of them. But I could see that being a realistic scenario. And then I also think the Heat could jump in there. The Heat have been fighting to try and get another All-Star since they lost LeBron. Bosh didn't really work out after he got
Dwayne
sick.
Wade left, then came back.
Wade's a shell of his former self, so I would go with a package of about James Johnson, Justice Winslow, and a top 5 protected first-round pick for Jimmy Butler. I think that the T-Wolves get back James Johnson, who is a very capable wing, a poor man's Jimmy Butler, you could say. Yeah. And then Winslow is improving. He's already a very good defender. He can. He's young, so he can get an offense. He can get going on offense a little bit still. And then the Heat get another All-Star in Jimmy Butler.
And then you have him and Dragic and Whiteside as well.
Yep, I think that Butler and Whiteside would work out so well together.
Now let's talk about a team that wasn't on that list, the Toronto Raptors. They got Kawhi Leonard, they lost DeMar DeRozan, their starting shooting guard, they're one of their superstars. Could you see anything happening where Jimmy Butler could fill the void there?
So I actually think that they could trade Kyle Lowry. A report came out today.
Really?
That Kyle Lowry has been avoiding phone calls. Actually, the quote was he was dodging phone calls from management and Masai Ujiri, the president of the Toronto Raptors.
Some friction there.
Yeah, so you already have Kawhi Leonard. Why not bank on trying to re-sign another superstar? If Lowry's not happy, go for Jimmy Butler. So then you have Jimmy Butler and Kawhi Leonard working together. That's
now who would you give up for him?
Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry?
Kyle Lowry for Jimmy Butler, Gorgie Dang, and Tyus Jones. You get another point guard back in Jones, who has proven himself as a very capable backup point guard. He's young. He can maybe transition into that starting role. And then you also get Gorgie Dang off of your books if you're Minnesota, which is a big point of that.
Now, out of those 3 options we just mentioned, who do you think has the most likely chance of getting Jimmy Butler?
I would say the Rockets. I think they really want to make it work. They'll get something done.
Absolutely, and you better look out in the West if that happens.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll be discussing the new Monstars in Space Jam 2. You don't want to miss this.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
First day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does. And like that, you're a job creator.
That's low. That's low.
Look, he's blushing.
It's no fairy tale that the right fit means everything, especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose one that's the right fit for your child's age and size.
That does make a difference.
To find out more, visit safercar.gov/therightseat.
Swings at the first pitch and fouls it deep back into the stand.
Chill raw and prepared foods promptly. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
After years of rumors and speculation, Space Jam 2 has officially been announced. The sequel to the 1996 original will star the film's executive producer, LeBron James. So, of course, I am joined by Emmanuel Taube and Drew Gentry to break down who's going to be this edition's Monstars. So, guys, we know the story last time. The Nerdlucks steal the talents of Charles Barkley, Sean Bradley, Patrick Ewing, Larry Johnson, Muggsy Bogues, transformed to the Monstars. So, I want to know this Space Jam 2's Monstars. Drew, who you got?
I got Kyrie Irving at point guard. He wants to beat LeBron.
For
I
sure.
have James Harden at the 2 guard because he's just a character and he's one of the best players, the MVP, obviously. KD, LeBron's kryptonite.
Of course.
Then we got Porzingis. He's that 7'3", can expand the floor, anything. And he's that Sean Bradley kind of role, tall white guy playing in different breed, and he's European. And then I have Karl Anthony Towns as my center, just because he is versatile, he does everything, and he's one of the premier centers in the league.
All right, and then for me, starting off with my point guard, I have Stephen Curry, best shooter in NBA history. I mean, you have to have him. And then James Harden, because he's an unstoppable scorer, as you say, I have him at 2 guard. And then we're going to skip to my power forward because I have Giannis Antetokounmpo in terms of his physical appearance. I mean, just look at him. Has to be a Monstar. And then my center, Anthony Davis. And then one other person that I have, he's making a comeback. My small forward is Michael Jordan, okay? In his prime, he's coming back. He's going to be in the second one. Not actually, but he should be in the second one as a Monstar. He has to be the last hump LeBron James has to get over.
Now, for you guys, obviously Space Jam is a very iconic basketball movie. How much do they take from the original and how much do they key is entirely new? Is this LeBron's movie or is this kind of Michael Jordan's next movie?
I think this is LeBron's movie, but I think that Michael Jordan, you have to mention it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Michael Jordan has to be in it. It's like passing the torch because Bugs Bunny and all the Looney Tunes are going to talk about MJ and how great that was and how they need to survive because they need LeBron to survive. And especially, say, now that MJ is stuck, if he's on the Monstars, what if he's on Space Mountain? Like, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I agree in terms of this is LeBron's movie, but I do feel like the Jordan shadow is still over. Like, whatever LeBron does,
like LeBron's whole career has
the Jordan shadow is still over this movie. People are still going to compare it to the first one. Whatever LeBron does, people are going to compare it to how Jordan did. Like, he's still in Jordan's shadow for this movie, and I don't think he can escape it.
All right, last thing before we go. LeBron moved to LA. He mentioned he wanted to go Hollywood. How long was LeBron thinking about this before he moved to LA about Space Jam 2?
Hopefully his entire career.
I think he thought about it for a while. We all heard the rumors that LeBron was going to do this, and then as soon as we saw it, we knew that was coming.
I think it's perfect. I think he had to do it. I think it's one of those things where if you're just that good, why not be in a Space Jam movie?
Yeah,
lifestyle movie, not a
basketball
business
player's dream. All right, Manuel, Drew, thank you. Space Jam 2 coming to a theater near you shortly. That is all the time we have for the Space Jam block. When we come back, Andrew will be joining me to discuss the best or worst mental lapses in sports history. Stick around.
Sometimes even the best athletes have their moments. Wake Forest's kicker, Nick Skiba, was still warming up on the sideline when his team was on the field ready for a field goal attempt. Mental lapses such as not remembering a game rule or realizing you're supposed to be somewhere that you're not don't happen often, but when they do, people notice. So Matt, what are some of the craziest mental lapses in sports history?
So the worst thing about Skiba's mistake is that he missed the field goal afterwards.
It was terrible.
I'm going 1993 NCAA Championship men's basketball.
Don't break my heart.
Michigan, UNC, right? So UNC's up by 2. They miss a free throw. Chris Webber grabs the rebound down the court, calls a timeout that Michigan doesn't have. Technical foul, free throws for UNC. Michigan obviously loses. And the worst part about this is that Chris Webber has been remembered for that play his entire basketball career.
Even through to his broadcasting
Yeah, exactly.
career.
Even
he
now,
just
it's
can't
terrible.
Relive it. And this might be something that haunts someone else's broadcasting career too. Tony Romo. Botched field goal in the 2006 NFC wildcard against the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, that's more physical than it is mental, but I'm not talking about handling the kick itself. I'm talking about what he did afterwards. Instead of maybe look to the end zone, see if anyone would throw it when he started to bootleg out of the pocket, Tony Romo, who's not a fast player, just bolted to the end zone, was surrounded by 3 or 4 Seahawks on defense, and just absolutely atrocious.
The best
absolutely
thing about
loses
this is I
it.
feel like we saw footage of that every game Tony Romo played the rest of his career. They said, oh, remember this when Tony Romo did this, in the first career of his career. So he was just like Chris Webber, was scarred by that his entire career.
It could have been
And
worse. I could have
bad.
gone with J.R. Smith again.
Yeah, that still hurts Cleveland fans.
Either way, it's something they won't forget.
I think J.R. Smith's whole career can be summed up by that one moment.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
But Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of One-on-One Sports.
We'd like to extend a huge thank you to all of our producers, crew, and talent, and of course you, the viewer, for tuning in.
If you liked what you saw and want to see more, be sure to check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at One-on-One Sports.
That's all from us here in the studio. So until next time,
whose side are you on?